Hello, welcome back, and just before we get started, this isn't financial advice and I'm not your financial advisor. Just for education purposes, do your own research please. Anyway, let's get into it. So we're looking at the Bitcoin first, and our video yesterday, we did expect that we were probably, if we were going to make a move up, we were going to be rejected at these moving averages, which we were, perfectly rejected from the moving averages. Relatively strong rejection from those as well, and closed back down to almost where we've been hanging around, actually just around this level. That's where we are again right now. We're still at that level, not really understanding where it wants to go. It wants to go up, it wants to go down, but whatever it's doing it within this range here, anywhere from about I'd probably say 10,000 to 11,000. That is our range right now. Definitely a no trading range. If we get above 11,200 and stay above there, then we might have an opportunity to move up to around 12 or more. If we can't make that and we get rejected again from here, we're probably coming back down again to 10,000, and then to test these supports at 9,800 and perhaps maybe 9,200 again. But again, Bitcoin is I wouldn't say it's wanting to do anything right now. It's almost like the last sort of round in a heavyweight battle, and everybody's lost their energy. So the bulls and the bears are kind of battling it out, but they're out of gas, and no one's really making any really decent moves anyway. So we'll see where this one goes. What I can say is that the RSI does look like it wants to make a little move up again, but the MACD looks like it wants to go down a little bit. And some of these indicators are now bending up a little bit, and the others are leveling out. So actually it does suggest more movement to the up, but ever so slightly, with the possibility of a collapse. So perhaps maybe for the rest of the day we'll be looking at another move to these moving averages, and then perhaps another pullback lower than where we closed yesterday. If we close today's candle with a big red green, or a red green all the same, and we're looking to close anywhere around 10,000 or lower, then this continuation will carry on, most likely throughout the rest of the week or two or more. That's my take on this situation anyway. Anyway, let's have a look at some of these other coins. So we've got Matic here. Obviously, we're always going to look at Matic. So Matic still trending sideways when you're looking at the Bitcoin pairing. Almost exactly sideways. All it wants to do is sideways, with a tiny little portion to the up, ever so slightly. But really, it's not able to move anywhere other than sideways at the moment. It just loves its sideways movement. That's all I can say. We look at the tether, and we do see some move to the up just recently, but generally speaking it is down. Indicators suggest, guess what, sideways, and with a little move to the up, and RSI is not really giving us any telltale signs of what it wants to do at the moment. We've got to wait till these corrections of yesterday's moves are played out to see where it actually takes us. If we can stay above 14, then that's a good sign. But because the moving averages are all sloping down with us, and the volume is very low, doesn't look like we were going to make any significant moves at the moment. But it's all got to start somewhere, and I see some of these other coins are making moves, so perhaps some of that money will filter on into Matic. Matic's not got a great deal going on with it anyway outside of the trading forum. Until it does, there's no reason for it to pick up momentum. It would just be a very good opportunity to accumulate for projects like Matic. Anyway, BitTorrent tokens, let's have a look at this baby. So it was doing okay actually. These last few days it has been making some moves. And today's having a bit of a pullback, which is fine, because actually historically that's what BitTorrent token likes to do. When we look at the tether pairing, it's always been like that actually. We've had obviously we started off with this big move, so really just like any IEO, you can't really count these for a great deal other than to map out some supports, if anything. And actually, if you look at where we are now, we are at a level that we started at. Which was a resistance level for it. So we are sort of finding our way around that resistance, which is 0.00 one. Sorry, I'm very tired. It's very early, but I had to get this done. We were taking the kids out shortly. So yeah, we can see that back here, right back at the beginning, that this was a resistance for us, and it was a heavy resistance, and it pushed us all the way down here. And once we broke out of that resistance area, then we kind of started these nice moves, consolidations, and not parabolic, but a decent move up, or getting on for 80% gains. Really, it was pretty good move. So yeah, this area that we found ourselves to at the moment is a decent resistance, and if we can break above there, that would be great, and it would start to perhaps maybe set the scene for a change of trend. But at the moment, we're going to consolidate a little bit, because these moves that we have made just recently from this, what would appear to be our most recent bottom, could have perhaps bottomed out here. It was a very low point for the coin, well, definitely more than halving its value from its all-time high. So yeah, perhaps that was its bottom. We'll see how this consolidates and see where it goes from here. But considering that this is a strong resistance and this is a potential bottom, if we can consolidate and perhaps, you know, bounce anywhere from around 9,000 and see where that takes us. We want to see a higher low, we want to see a higher high, and then when that consolidates a third time and makes another move, then we could be into sort of mapping out a new trend for it. So it actually is starting to look a bit more positive for BitTorrent token. Probably at this point, it's one of the more positive looking charts, even though it's very early and still I'm not looking to trade on this one right now. It has shown some promise now and is looking quite good. Satoshi pairings are going to look the same though, just trending sideways because there's such a low Satoshi range, so anywhere from as much as little as 8 Satoshis, and I can't really imagine any Satoshi level above 12 or 13 at this range at the moment, so not a great deal of purpose looking at that right now. Celr, so Celr is pretty much the same as Matic, just weaving around on a sideways action. Actually, it's not as good as Matic. Matic is sideways with a slight tilt to the up, whereas Celr is still making little tilts to the down ever so slightly, but basically it's sideways and it's going to remain sideways. Looks like it's going to continue with its sideways action until money flows into this coin. There's no real reason for it to move anywhere other than sideways. We'll look at the tether pairing, and it's moving. It's like Matic, but a little softer. It's Matic is if there was a coin to move, it would be Matic out of these two. They are working in similar trends, but Matic is ever so slightly more powerful. So whatever I said about Matic, you know, sideways, but not very strong, with a slight move to the up. Wait till we see where we consolidate. Celr could perhaps maybe correct or consolidate, should I say, back down to 1 cent again. If it does that and goes lower, then yeah, we need to wait a little longer. It needs to bottom out still. Its lowest point was 0.00939. We need to bounce a little higher than that, and again make higher highs and higher lows. If we can do that, then maybe great. But the RSI looks like, yeah, well, that doesn't really know what it wants to do, and it looks like it wants to make a cross, but it's not a cross yet. And to be honest with you, it could be a very weak cross and only continue with the sideways trend. So Litecoin, we have been looking at Litecoin recently because, well, it's been a very good coin. So we did anticipate some big moves from it, and we got those big moves, and those big moves continue. We're going to look at the tether pairing. We can see how big those moves have been. It doesn't look much when you look at it in comparison to where it's been and gone from, but it's because it's been making big moves ever since we could say ever since December. So anyway, the halving event is around the corner. I'm pretty sure all of that halving event has been priced in, given the fact that it has made all those moves all the way from as low as $22, we'll call it $23, to $145. That's incredible gains, huge gains. much bigger than Bitcoin. So what's propelling that? Probably the halving event. Halving event's coming around the corner. We're hovering around the 99-cent mark to $100, $99 to $100. We're being rejected on these moving averages, which are facing down, but this probably won't take very long for this to move up, because I expect still to see big moves from Litecoin. The indicators suggest definitely more moves to the up. But again, I'm not a financial advisor. It's not financial advice. I bought some of this around $78 just recently, and I'm holding it, and I'm going to see where it takes us when it gets us back to our most recent high, which I don't think will be too much of a problem for it. My time frame will be a couple of months, 2 months to get back up there and beyond before I sell. The halving event will have taken place by then, and I think where we are now, was call it $100. I think it's safe to assume that by the halving event, and perhaps maybe a month or so afterwards, we will be at $200. I expect with Litecoin. Moving against Bitcoin is actually, it's looking quite sad and sorry for itself, as are most of these coins. What it seems to do is make the big charge, the big move, beat Bitcoin by miles, then Bitcoin comes up and chases its tail, gains on it and takes over. So in many ways you could look at Litecoin as an indicator for Bitcoin's movement. Whatever Litecoin seems to do, recently anyway, we have big move up, then a curving off, big move up, and then Bitcoin takes over. Big move up, Bitcoin takes over, big move up, Bitcoin takes over. So, maybe if it's something you want to sort of study yourself, if Litecoin has made some big moves, Bitcoin will be soon to follow in its path. Not quite as big, because what we also see is while Bitcoin is making its moves up, Litecoin starts to make its moves down as well. But there is a correlation between the two recently, and I'm just talking quite recently. Whatever Litecoin does, Bitcoin seems to follow. And ERD, I don't know why I bother looking at this at the moment. We certainly can't look at it on the daily. We'll look at it on the 4-hourly. So again, it's one of those sideways charts. It's a coin with very low volume, so it's not going to be moving much. It's not going to be going up nor down. It's just going to be going sideways. It's a no trader for me. And if we look at it on the tether pairing, it'll probably make a little more sense to us. We just see sideways. We just see sideways. Maybe a little move to the up is coming, but it's just sideways for this one. If you're looking to get involved in any of these coins, any of these IEOs, ICOs, the strongest ones currently would certainly be, well, I say strongest, the ones that none of them are particularly strong, but BitTorrent token is probably the one I am favouring at the moment, followed by Matic. Those two look like they've got some decent moves in the not so distant future. But at the moment they're all kind of going sideways. The alts that are taking over are the strongest alts with the highest volume, the highest liquidity, the top 10, top 20, top 30. Once they've all made their moves, then we have to see what happens after that. Also, a lot of these other ICOs and IEOs, they're still quite new, so their use case isn't as strong. Their companies aren't as strong. They're in their infancy. So if you wanted to think about it in one respect, if you're looking for a long-term investment, perhaps maybe not BitTorrent token, but things like Matic, definitely I would say would be a decent price to pick it up at now, because when it does kick in, it's certainly going to work out well in the long run with the tokenization looking to be extremely large scale use case, mass adoption probably more likely for a coin like Matic than anything else. BitTorrent token certainly does have the ability to have mass adoption, but that adoption may not increase its value as much anyway as something like Matic. In order to have a Matic token, you need to own Matic tokens. In order to get BitTorrent tokens, you need to seed and upload torrents. So there's more incentive for people to be buying things like Matic than there would be BitTorrent tokens. Anyway, I'll leave it with you there. It is very early, so thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more. Have a nice day, and then take it easy.